Hello, friends. It is Thursday, a little late week rendezvous with hashtag Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show. Doing it on a Thursday, a little bit out of the ordinary right here. As we dive in, we had stuff that had to be done. So here's a Thursday, football weekend. Hashtag Real Race Talk. Welcome in, friends, to the Revved Up Sports Show. Bobby Chaffee down south. He is looking at you, I think, on the right side. I'm Rodney Rodriguez over on the left side, and we have a great show planned for you tonight. Greg Carlucci Jr. is going to join us, Rowdy Chouinard, and then our man Alan Dietz for some good old bench racing coming up top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Bobby, how you doing down there, man?
Well, it ain't raining today. I got stuck in the frog floater yesterday there at Costco. So the fact that it's kind of a nice, somewhat pretty blue sky today, little clouds, here and there, but it could be worse. I mean, we could be in other areas of the state that are getting pounded and hammered by rain. So
I'll tell you, it really is a weird thing how this has all come about with all of this precipitation that's come our way. And if you are just checking in, and you may have seen on Facebook the Carlucci 34, which was set for Saturday at the race ranch, has been canceled, has been postponed. More about that coming up here in just a little bit. But it is really weird that the weather, and it's so crazy because everything's kind of cooled off a little bit. Like I can take the kids out, I can take the pets out in the morning because I like the 80s. I mean, all of that. I think we finally turned that corner to where it's not unbearable. Because you folks checking in from outside of Texas, this shit is unbearable. It's way too hot to be doing stuff outside.
and it was 108 degrees with a heat index of 115 about 3.5 weeks ago. So the fact that it was only a high of about 93 today with a heat index of about 97, 98, that's what Texans call a cold front come blowing through there. So that's one way to look at it. But yeah, definitely, the weather here has been up and down. And if you think about the tracks, some of these tracks just hadn't had the best of luck with trying to get rainouts. I know the race ranch down south, man, has had multiple rainouts. Texana Raceway Park had 4 rainouts in a row that kind of derailed their season. More on that in a little bit later. But telling you, Mother Nature hadn't been kind to a couple of different racetracks. Some of these racetracks, these promoters can't catch a break.
And that is a weird thing because I got a couple of pictures yesterday about the race ranch, and I'm like, man, I had no idea that it was even raining at that part of Corpus Christi. And that's, I think, with everything along the coast, I mean, you never know what you're going to get right there, but that place is drenched. And I know they've been pumping and doing different things about it, but I've been checking in different sources there, looking at weather, and the weather. I mean, it's only going to get wetter is the whole thing, because I think as things have kind of flattened out a little bit, you have this swirl that's coming in from the Gulf, and it's just going to sit there and kind of spiral around. And I'll be real honest with you, Bobby. I know that next week is Houston, and man, I'm kind of concerned about that one also because I mean, this is a front that's going to come in and park itself, and Houston may be a little bit in jeopardy at this point.
Yeah, they're talking about the Golden Triangle area was going to be heads up, was going to get a lot of rain. So we'll see how far east or west that goes, see if it goes from Beaumont area all the way down into the greater Houston area to kind of see what goes on. But you never know with Mother Nature. I mean, it's rained all around Houston and didn't rain a drop at the racetrack. And we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden it hadn't rained a drop around the greater Houston area. And then boom, we're at the racetrack and it comes a thunderstorm. So
yeah,
you never know what to expect. That's what they say about Texas weather is you just have to expect the unexpected, because the only sure thing about Texas weather is it's going to be inconsistent and change all the damn time in a heartbeat.
That's right. Turn around, blink, and it will change. Also on the show this afternoon, going into this evening, we'll talk about, obviously, when Alan Dietz jumps on, we'll talk about the Oxford 250 as they got that race in. We will touch on a little bit the NASCAR schedules have come out and some changes there when it comes to playoffs and all kinds of different stuff. We'll talk about that. The Cars Tour, I think, is something that we need to talk about as the tire situation right there has kind of come to a head, and they, along with Hoosier, kind of making some differences right there. But one thing that I do want to dive into with you, Bobby, before we get Greg on here, Carlucci, is we saw this past weekend there at CBS. I know that we have talked a lot of times, and again, the show tonight presented by On Demand Shirts, audio visual consultations, all of our great friends that make this show possible. I think we saw another situation to where with the STEM series, to where the infancy and with the excitement and everybody that's wanting to be a part of that, we saw them again having to make really, really hard decisions with some stuff that happened this past weekend. And I hate to talk about this because, and that's a bad part about doing this show, because when we have to dig into this kind of stuff, these are usually our friends that we're talking about. But what went on there with the STEMS race, I like what they did. I mean, sometimes you have to make some really, really hard decisions when you come to be a race series or a director or whatever. And they're walking the line right there. They're doing what they have to do.
Well, I think that what the main thing is it's called growing pains, right? When you have a new series, you're going to have growing pains. You're going to have to set precedents that nobody set before in terms of a series, right? When it's a brand new series. So you have to draw the line in the sand, to use that line from William Barrett Travis there at the Alamo, draw the line in the sand and say, this is the line, don't cross it. And so there is there's a fine line between rough racing and I get that when you have racers that run a series, they understand the mental capacity of a race car driver, which is not very much when it comes to something other than driving and winning. And so I think they took some of that into consideration. But I think, for it to reach the level that it did, I think they definitely had to make a call. Some people agree with it. Some people don't, just like every call in every racing situation. But I mean, I just think that it's an unfortunate speed bump that the series had to go through to try to alleviate that kind of actions in the future. They don't want to have a Bowman Gray type moment every single race. So I don't think anybody wants to have a Bowman Gray moment except for Bowman Gray every single week.
Yeah. And the whole thing with that is it really comes down to with them. I mean, they do have to draw that line in the sand, because it's one thing that, I mean, when you get out there and you're going to race that way, things are going to happen on the racetrack, and some guys and ladies race with emotion, and they race with everything that they have to bring to the table. And it's really hard to dial it back. I mean, I've been in that spot to where, you want to do what you want to do, but I mean, you can't. And I do think that one of the things that I was so impressed with this past weekend, when on the NASCAR side, was for all the people that dislike Kyle Busch, the fact that, I mean, I was waiting. I'm like, okay, Kyle, here's, notch that 20th straight win, get yourself into the playoffs. He didn't do it. He did the right thing. And I think that a lot of times it's really hard to bring yourself back to that.
Well, I think Busch is more concerned with getting the 20-year streak than he is about making the playoffs because he's so far behind.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother issue that fired up all week. Harrison Burton, the lowest full-time driver in the points, wins the race at Daytona, qualifies for the playoffs because they don't have the top 30 rule anymore. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think that I think that the industry as a whole learned a lot from the Austin Dillon incident.
Yep.
I think they learned that there's a line that you don't cross, and I think that they're as long as the cup drivers, which are the superstars of the sport, and they're the ones that have their eyes on, despite these short trackers that say they don't race, they don't watch, and all that good shit. They watch because everybody's got a damn opinion on it. The ones that say they never watch every week got some kind of bitch and moan about it.
Yep.
But it's like, they're setting the precedent up that high level that stuff's not appropriate anywhere outside of Bowman Gray. I mentioned that again because I had a couple of people show me some videos from Bowman Gray. Those people love it. That's a unique market. When I come to a racetrack, I don't come to watch a circus. I come to watch a race. Now, granted, sometimes when those antics happen, it makes our job as announcers a little bit easier. But, from a race fan perspective, I'm not sure I really enjoy those guys chasing each other around inside the pits and all that stuff with them race cars.
Yeah, that's stupid. So the words from Kyle Busch after Daytona, here's what he had to say.
Second, it's all good. We're really lucky. Nice. So all good. Just real proud of everybody, Randall, all the guys, everybody at RCR, ECR. They did a great job and brought a fast car. And, was hoping that we could get those free number 8 specials on Monday for everybody, get some chicken tenders rolling, but wasn't meant to be. So we'll take this. And got a good little stretch here going with these last 3 weeks and hope that we can do what we need to do next week.
Now, quick take on the final lap. What could you have done different now that you've seen it? You haven't seen a lot of it, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of it, but just from what I recall, we got off at 2 and somehow the bottom lane got misconjobulated and broke all of our momentum, and the top lane just rolled. And so once they got in front, with as little as energy as there was, with the lack of cars that there were, it was hard to make anything happen from turn 4 to start finish. So besides just flat out wrecking them, there was nothing else I could do.
And I think a big part of that, Bobby, is the fact that Kyle Busch, I mean, for as much as you want to talk about that guy, that guy is a short track racer. I mean, that's where he honed his skills and everything. And I think that he didn't want to, punch that ticket into the playoffs in that scenario. I know there's been a lot of question about, he didn't have, the partner behind him. The partner went and pushed the Ford, but I think that it was one of those things to where Kyle Busch, he really could have. I mean, he could have taken that kid out. But I think if RCR was at a better level, that maybe he would have pushed the envelope a little bit. But he's at a point right now to where he's like, look, like you said, give me that 20th consecutive win. That's what I'm racing for right now, because I think he knows that getting into the playoffs, that's going to be a very short stay.
Well, if he gets in the playoffs, more than likely, unless they're running better, he's out first round.
Oh yeah,
I mean that's the joy. You kind of know the guys that are not going to make it into the round of 12. So I mean it's kind of the way. That's where some people say that 16's too many. Yep. I think I liked it better back when it was 12 for the old school chase. But I mean, this knockout format, basically, this is the anti-Jimmy Johnson 5-time in a row format, is what you can call this, because there's no way, as good as Jimmy Johnson was, nobody's won him back to back. And I don't think that even Jimmy Johnson, one of the greatest ever to put on the helmet, I don't even think Jimmy Johnson could have won back to back versus 5 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. There is absolutely no way that would have happened. So again, I applaud Kyle for what he did right there. And it's one of those things to where going into Darlington this weekend, and we'll get further into this as we go into the show, but going into Darlington, I mean, how can you not root for that guy, especially after that? It's like, I really want him to get in. I sure as hell want him to get in before I want Ace Dillon to get in there. So I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know. It's a weird time in racing right now when people are like applauding Kyle Busch.
Well, it's been that way since he started driving in the Chevrolet. So maybe it's because he's not driving that foreign manufacturer no more.
Yeah. Waiting for Greg Carlucci Jr. Yeah. It's a lot easier. I mean, people like him a lot better when he's driving one of the Chevrolets. Waiting for Greg Carlucci Jr. He's working to try to get on with us. I know he's heading to a football game. I may go to the old phone to get him on here, because I want to talk to him. Because if you missed it, the Carlucci 34 has been postponed, but there's more to that. There's a lot more to that.
Are you breaking the news to him on that?
He knows part of it, but he doesn't know all of it. So
okay, good.
That's why I'm hoping that he's able to get on. So I may have to go old school and try to dial him up here in just a little bit. But again, the show presented by On Demand Shirts, audiovisual consultations, our great friends that are doing really, really cool things. And I think that we may have the man himself about to dive in here. So I'm going to the line right there. There he is. It is the man himself, the Luch, Greg Carlucci Jr. How you doing, brother?
What's up, guys?
Aren't you supposed to be on the road to a football game? Please tell me you didn't stop.
No. We're gonna go that way. I'm all dressed up in my dad gear, so we're gonna head that way right after.
My man.
We got time.
Yeah.
Gonna be a good game.
Gonna be a good game. All right. How cool is it for you being a dad and you get to football and all that? This is where everything kind of changes for me, because it's like I do football stuff, I do sports stuff, and then when football starts up, it's like, okay, here we go. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's second-year cheerleader, so it gives me a good excuse to go to the football games. You know what I'm saying?
Popcorn and nachos, my man.
She's my last one, so I got 3 more years, and then I won't have any more excuses.
Love it. Full-time racer.
So how does that, before we get into the racing, how different is it when the cheer stuff versus the racing stuff with Ryan? Like, is it both competitive nature? Because I know some really competitive cheerleaders, but it's got to be a different change of pace between racing with Ryan and racing, and then doing the cheer with the youngest one.
So I did racing with Ryan, and the carts started, and then my middle daughter Caitlin, she was a racer. She got a championship, big trophy. Allie, she had nothing to do with the racing stuff. She said, "Dad, I don't want to get in the go-kart." I said, "Just take some laps. You might like it." She said, "Nope." And so I thought she was going to be my tomboy, but she's been my girly girl ever since. And so now she's doing the cheer thing. So it's back and forth. You know, the racing deal's been my whole life, but getting into this cheer thing is pretty competitive. Like you said, these girls are crazy athletic. When they say cheering is not an athletic event, they don't know what they're talking about, because I see some of the stuff these girls do, and it's wild.
Greg, cheer and dance. I had a kid in dance, and it's like, man, they're like us at the racetrack. It's like, oh, okay.
And the parents are like the fans at the racetrack.
Yeah, living their dream through us. So, or we're living their dream through them. So Greg, talk about it. You're down there. You sent me some pics last night. That place looks like hell. It's very, very wet. You can't pump it out. It's one of those things. It's a very legit cancellation. I mean, there's no way to race this weekend.
Yeah, I got some recent pics. The track, you know, of course the track looks okay, but it's everything else around it. The infield, the pits, the parking area is still underwater. And I know those guys have been trying, but maybe, you know, can't complain. We need some rain around here, just like we do, you know, all over Texas. So I'm not going to complain too much, and maybe it'll give us some more time to raise more money and promote it even more. I know Owen's giving me little tidbits of what he's got in store, and he's got something that he's planning, and he's going to include this in it. And so I think it's going to get even bigger, and we can just raise more money for the drivers. And I know, like the lap sponsor deal, we've got like $1,500. I raised like $600 on the side, also on top of the $1,334 and the 134 just to start the race. So it's going to be a good deal no matter what.
Yep, absolutely.
So, Greg, before we get into the breaking news that we have for you, how cool is that to see everybody just get involved, whether it be trying to add to the purse, add these lap sponsors, stuff like that? It's like just random people that you wouldn't even expect to be sponsoring a lap says, here, I'll do lap number 5 because that's my car number. I'll do lap number 15 because that's my other second favorite car number. How cool has that been for you to see everybody donating to the race?
It's cool. You know, I got a big taste of it last year, you know, the inaugural. See so many people come out, give money, you know, people, and then they would send me messages on the side. Hey, I just gave money for this. I met your dad back in 70, 80, you know, and they might not even been, you know, longtime racing fans, but, you know, it just been one night that they had, you know, they ran across them and they had, you know, memories of them, good memories. And so they say, hey, you know, I want to throw some money towards it. And that's pretty cool. You know, that memories go back that far and people are still, you know, throwing money towards it, even though they don't go to the races now.
Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things about this event is the fact that when we have this race, there are so many people that are still involved. I mean, I know, like in Austin and San Antonio, sometimes you have a big event and it's like people are like, who's so-and-so? But every time I go to the ranch, it's like Carlucci's. I mean, you name the names, and it's like generation after generation after generation, and they're still there. To me, that's one of the coolest parts.
Yeah, I was thinking back the other day, you know, as this race is coming, it's been almost 50 years in South Texas that there's been a 34 on the racetrack with a Carlucci behind the wheel. You know, and my dad started that back in 78. And there hasn't been a year since that there hasn't been number 34 on a track somewhere in South Texas. So for them to pay tribute to that and to recognize, you know, my dad's efforts and even though he didn't race dirt a whole lot, he raced Riverside and he raced up at Dixieland in Victoria. And, you know, he's done some dirt racing. He raced here a little bit. But, you know, most of the people that race dirt now in South Texas came from asphalt. And so they all know and they all remember and they all know everything my dad did for the sport. So it's really cool to see so many people coming together, especially, now the car counts have been down. And I was really excited for this weekend to come because I had a feeling it was going to be a pretty good turnout.
So Rodney, I'll let you go back to back on this because I know you're itching to do something over there.
Yeah. So Greg, I think you know that the race has been moved. I mean, the Outlaw 34 has been moved to December. So here's a look, and this is like right off the press. I know that you know that part. But here,
I know it was postponed to a later date, but I wasn't sure exactly when.
Well, here we go, my man. And this is breaking news that you're going to find out right here. So what has happened is the South Texas Shootout has been moved to November. And again, that's a big race in and of itself. The Outlaw 34 now takes over December 12th, 13th, and 14th. That is going to be the marquee season-ending event at South Texas Race Ranch. And get this, Greg, whatever money that you may raise for lap sponsors and all that, to win that race, factory stock 34 laps, it's $3,400.
Oh man!
And then the rest comes in, my man.
This is cool. That's really cool.
That's your race promoter down here, my man.
That's always been my favorite race of the year. That December race, we finally get to race in some cooler temperatures, and the atmosphere is always cool to see all the cars come from all over Texas and Louisiana and up north, and to know that the name of the race has been changed to that, the season ending race. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Isn't that one of those things to where it's like the end of the year? I know all the time with the shootout, you get a lot of factory stocks because it's always a really good purse. I mean, it's always a really good purse. But now it's kind of a wide open date. That is a December Corpus Christi race celebration right there.
Well, I don't know if you remember back in 2012, I actually won that race. Not the limiteds, the supporting class. So, man, wouldn't that be pretty cool if I could do it again on my dad's night? I would love that.
I'd love it.
I'm gonna try my best. I had the car set on kill for this weekend. I've spent a lot of hours in the shop. It's the shop and car behind me. I thought I'd be like all the other guys and get my shop in the background, but I had her ready, and I think we were gonna do pretty good this weekend, but I'll be ready to go that weekend.
It's awesome.
Oh, my turn. Sorry, I was reading something on the screen. Sorry. So Greg, now that the shock is out of the way, you mentioned getting the car ready. How long has it been since you've been in a race car here recently? It's been a hot minute, right?
I raced a couple times earlier in the season. We haven't had a chance to race with work schedules and finances and everything else and weather that's kind of interrupted. The nights I could race, we get rained out or what have you. So times this year, and then Ryan's only got to race a couple times. So we've kind of shared it. I told him at the beginning of the season I was going to try to get behind the wheel a little more, and I really haven't gotten behind as much as I wanted to, but I wanted to knock some of the rust off, and it's about time we get back in victory lane. So I mentioned that win a race time and guys won races at. And when you don't win, I finally get one, in the bag. And I even saw him get a little emotional. He won't admit it, but I saw him get a little emotional. And, and that was just a to get back in winner circle, and we want to get back there bad. So I've been working hard, and we're going to get there.
Yeah. He jumped out of that car, Greg, and I kind of saw him kind of wipe some tears away. He came over and was kind of joking around about being a washed up asphalt guy, whatever the case was. But it really was a big deal for him. And I think for you guys, like we're talking about, I mean, it's a big deal for you guys to win in Corpus.
Yeah, we talk quite a bit. We used to be bitter enemies, but now, we're cool. Past is the past. And yeah, when you we're still racers at heart, and we're used to winning, and we're used to doing good. We're very, very competitive, and time goes by and you don't get that win. When it finally does come, it just feels good, especially all the work you put into these cars, and I ass off on their cars, and 2 decades old, and they're out there competing with, $30,000 factory stocks these days, and so biggest thing, and it's the same for me. I've got an older car, and that's all we've ever raced. I can't go out there and buy speed like some of these other guys. We just work on our own stuff and figure as fast as everybody else, and those guys figured it out, and it's good to see.
Just like CC Speedway, my man. Keep grinding and make it fast. That's what you guys do. And it's I'm so glad that y'all do that. And I got to tell you, that December race being the Outlaw 34 is badass. That is holiday month, and we're going to celebrate in Corpus, my man. Sorry it got canceled. I'm going
to have lots of energy. It's not going to be 100 degrees out, so
right.
I'm going to be feeling good.
Cannot wait. Spending the holidays in Corpus with you guys. Greg, I know you got to go. Thank you for jumping on. Sorry about the rain out. Man, December's going to be badass. Look forward to seeing you down there, my man.
Thanks for the shout out, and thanks for all the attention and the tributes given to my dad. I appreciate you guys for promoting. I'm looking forward to what it's gonna be come December.
You got it, man. Take care. Enjoy the game tonight, my friend.
All right, y'all take care.
You bet. There he goes, Greg Carlucci Jr. And if you did miss that, here is the revamped schedule. And I will tell you, I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say this, but so the next race for the race ranch is the 14th of September. The rain out date for this Saturday that's been washed out is going to be September 28th. So there will be a regular, race schedule on the 28th. But really cool right there. You kind of bump the shootout up, and then showcase the Outlaw 34. That's a really cool thing right there. And I think Greg was kind of taken aback right there, because Owen's like, he knows part of this, but he doesn't know the full deal about all of it.
Yeah, I think what people are forgetting is that we're under the November 23rd section. It's in there kind of small. I'd have made it a little bigger, but it says limited modifieds, $5,000 to win. So that's a pretty hefty purse there towards the end of November, that weekend before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and it's a full card. I mean, with that $5,000 to win for the limited modifieds. I mean, come on down to Corpus. That's right there around Thanksgiving. And then, with the 34 now being $3,400 to win, and that's outright. And there was a lot of money that had been raised, with lap leaders and all the different stuff right there. So I really think that that's something that's going to continue to escalate. And I kind of envision that you're going to see a bunch of big hitters in factory stocks that come down to Corpus in December.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one hell of a show. Owen's not a dumbass. He likes to promote big shows, and those are two pretty big shows to cap off the end of the season down at the race ranch.
Yep, that's right. Rowdy Chouinard coming up. We're going to talk to that young dude. But before we do that, how about a word from our friends at My Race Pass?
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass, the ultimate racing resource.
That thing really is cool, because you can go in and type in a driver, a track. I mean, everything that you need is right there. I like that. And it's, a lot of the pavement tracks have gone to use that as well. I know you got Race Monitor, whatever the case is, but my Race Pass, pretty good little tool right there.
Yeah, it's one of those great tools. It helps us out a lot when we do the live timing and scoring because you get points, you get lineups, you get all kind of stuff at the touch of a finger.
Yep, that's right. All right, let's dive back in on your Thursday. It's kind of weird saying that.
Kind of weird to say that, isn't it?
A Revved Up Thursday. College football about to start, and the first game, Minnesota and North Carolina, in a rain delay already. So we're off to a flying start. Got to talk to this dude right here. I got to tell you, for Bobby, for both of us, we've been in this game for a long time down here in this Austin, Central Texas area, and we know a lot of folks in this family, and it's like people just keep diving in, and we see these young dudes driving race cars, and it's like, man, to keep up with the family tree is so hard. But this dude has dove in. And to watch him the last couple of years, and right now he is just flat ass kicking ass. It is our man, one of the coolest names in racing, Rowdy Chouinard. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Thank you. I mean, pretty good. I mean, just like you said, grew up in the racing family. I mean, I've always been around it. So,
yeah. Rowdy, how is that? I mean, because anytime you look around, I mean, it was going to be a given that you had no other choice. I mean, now even your mom's behind the wheel. Yeah, I remember when I raced. I mean, there's your mom, and she was in the crowd. John Paul and Jr. and Terry; these guys were all out there racing. Kind of take us down the family tree of how it all comes together. Who belongs to who?
Well, honestly, I've grown up always kind of living closer to my Uncle Sean and all them. That's where I got the number 28 from, all that. And I mean, like you said, up at Thunder Hill, where watching everybody race out there is kind of where I grew up at. I mean, between all that, I mean, it was a given. I'm a fourth generation, so I mean, like y'all said, there's no way really around it. I mean, yeah. My grandfather started racing out at Longhorn Speed. My great grandfather, Paul Jr. Medlock out at Longhorn Speedway. I mean, that's where our true history all started, is way out there. I mean,
that's right.
Just from them, and I mean, I don't know where to start with the history. There's so much of it. I mean, that's all I've known. I mean, my first race car I got when I was 13 for Christmas. So it was a surprise out of nowhere. And ever since then, I've tried to live up to the family legacy, Yeah. But I mean, I've tried a handful of dirt. I mean, with there only being H&P now as an asphalt track in Texas, it's kind of hard to get that asphalt side like the rest of the family did. But I just. Yeah.
No,
I don't know where to. There's so much behind it all. I don't know where to start.
That's right.
So, Rowdy, talk about H&P. A couple of weeks ago, you actually got a chance to race against your Uncle Sean. How cool was that for you? That's got to be a boyhood dream come true, racing against Sean.
Oh yeah, I mean, just even being out there on the track, it was just having me shaking, different type of just excitement, kind of just trying to see what the guy I've always been looking up to, all that, just see what he's like behind. I mean, and just watching him on that, just right off the start, going into 3 in the feature last time. That was just, I had a front row seat to it. It was amazing. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wish we didn't get the dirt set up figured out as much as we would, because we would be going out there a little bit more often. But with having everything figured out on dirt for these past few races, I mean, we don't want to risk it.
Yeah. No doubt. So Rowdy, talk about that part for you, especially you as a young driver. Kind of talk about that transition, because so many, like for Sean, I mean, for Crazy Horse, for example, it was a guy that, I mean, he and I, a lot of great races that we had together. And, you know, it was for him making the transition from asphalt to dirt. And so for you, starting out on dirt that hadn't had the chance on asphalt, when you got on the pavement, I mean, that had to be one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm kind of in control right here. I can kind of wheel this thing. Kind of talk about that difference right there for you.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, the G-forces, stuff like that. My neck was hurting the couple days afterwards. I mean, just you're able to pull that car around the track a lot more than you are on dirt. Dirt, you're able to kind of, it gives a little bit more. I mean, yeah. I've found the wall on dirt and somehow on asphalt there. And I mean, I can promise to you, it hurts a little bit less on dirt.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're able to drive it into the corners just that much harder on asphalt. I mean, you got so much more grip. It's weird to explain because it's a whole different animal between the asphalt and dirt. You drive them completely different. You got to be a lot smoother on asphalt than I mean, literally every little tiny little twitch you do in the steering wheel. I mean, I learned it'll change up your whole entire car's line driving a little bit. I mean, it's different.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Some people make it look really easy, but it's not quite that easy. Speaking of make it look easy, dude. So talk about your runs here the last couple of seasons there at Cotton Bowl. Obviously, you're the outlier racing on the dirt and getting all that set up, rock and rolling. But talk about your track record there at Cotton Bowl the last couple of years.
I mean, I had an amazing rookie season. My first ever time in the front wheel drive sport compacts. I mean, was able to get a championship my first season. Everybody says that's a season to beat, and I mean, still trying to beat it. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, that first year was definitely probably the smoothest year. I mean, second year we made a major jump up to sports mod, and those are crazy animals. I mean, yeah, just made a major jump and just kind of wasn't the thing for me. So got lucky, entered in one of the raffles for the factory stock and won it. And ever since then, we've kind of just been trying to dabble kind of all around on dirt, just wherever we can go, whenever I have a weekend off or something like that. I mean, but these past 2 years have been kind of the first year in the factory stock. We tried to do a little bit. We were just learning the car, honestly. I was learning the car, learning how to drive them, new class, all that. And then we went out to Houston later on that year and just messed up the motors during practice, and just a rookie mistake on my side of things, and got a late start this year. Haven't really had time to get the momentum that we really needed at the beginning of the year until about now. So
Rowdy, you won that car in a raffle?
Yes, sir.
What the hell? Shit, I didn't know that part.
Oh yeah, we got the last spot if I was correct.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, yeah.
Shit. I mean, oh man. I've heard some stories, Rusty Heads kind of told me stories about how he got his car. But man, that kind of similar situation right there. Let's talk about the Cotton Bowl part. I mean, because when it comes down to it, with the factory stocks at Cotton Bowl, there is never I mean, because you've got the core group of guys that are going to race out there. You got Homeyer, you got Sims. I mean, now Taylor Stewart is a great competitor out there. But then every now and then you get Johnny Torres and all these different dudes and ladies that show up out there. Talk about that part, because I think Cotton Bowl, man, you get some of the best out there on a random week. And you, my friend, in Victory Lane this past weekend, I mean, kicking ass out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I will admit, you do get the best of the best. I mean, I was surprised. Still can't believe I beat Johnny three races ago. That still blows my mind. I mean, it was one of those. You can tell the thing about your usual drivers. The good thing about them is every week you get to watch how they drive, watch their different ways they do everything. You get to learn them. And I mean, I like when new guys come in, because you get to see how they drive, you get to just also race against different people, you know. It gives you different type of experience, I guess you can put it. I mean, it's always fun out there, and Cotton Bowl brings out most of the drivers and people. I mean, it's one of the cleaner tracks I've raced at. I mean, everybody's respectful of everybody out there. That's what I love so much about out there. Right. I mean, Marianne and all them, they do an amazing job getting the track going. And I mean, Cotton Bowl, it's been my home track since I've started. I don't know if I could ever like a track more than them, but just one day, hopefully I can race somewhere else about as good as I can run there. I mean,
well, you got 3,400 reasons to go down to the South Texas Race Ranch in December right there that they just announced. So maybe you can venture down there up there in December for a couple of weeks. Talk about that, dude. The factory stocks are a unique animal in my mind, because of the fact that you have such a wide array of cars. You still got some home built cars. You still got some $30,000 purpose built cars. But yet somehow, some way, these purses are still an amazingly high for a car that's still, half-assed, remotely stocked. Talk about that as far as the factory stocks go.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Me, my dad, and my mom, and Mike Blackwell, we're the handful that are working on the car throughout the week, stuff like that. And it's just you do see the difference in like your home built cars. They perform better in some ways than others, and then your bigger, the ones with more money in them, more this and that, they're going to perform different on different tracks. I mean, and also that 30 down in Corpus, it's a big, got to talk my dad into that one. That's going to be the real factor. It'd be a good reason to go have a little beach trip down there. I mean,
there you go.
I mean, I know my mom wouldn't be against that one.
She'll go.
Yeah, ask her first. She can convince your dad later.
I'll talk to Leslie. Let me handle her. I will talk to her.
Okay. I mean, but
that's great. Rowdy, I mean, talk about that part again. I mean, we talked. Was that her?
Yeah. She was mentioning about last year when we went down to Corpus for, I believe, the South Texas shootout. Yeah. And I mean, it was not a good weekend for us that weekend. I mean, went out there
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was last year.
Yeah. So Rowdy, I do want to ask you on the asphalt side, because you did. I mean, you took to it like a fish to water. What are the possibilities? I mean, because I think that thing is going to continue to grow. And I know in 2025, depending on schedules and all of that, is that something that you think that you would like to, because with your family, and again, like I said, I've raced every damn one of them. Is that something that you think that you would kind of like dabble in a little bit more? I mean, whether it be a HMP stock car or whatever the case may be, truck, something like that.
I mean, I would love to run asphalt more. I just like it. I mean, it's what I grew up watching, what I've just always grown up helping with, and I mean, we used to all whatever. If anybody, I'll get thrown in whatever we can find, and I'll try to definitely make a trip or two down there next year. Maybe out there to go up there, battle up there. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
No doubt.
I mean, it's in the back of my mind. I'm planning on trying to make it out there. I definitely want to run against my uncle 1 or 2 more times.
Kick his ass. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's definitely going to be a challenge.
That's right.
So other than your Uncle Sean, is there anybody else in the family that's now retired driver that you wanted to race against at all? I mean, you want to race against Junior? Hell, you want to race against Cheryl? I mean, talk about that. You've got a lot of choices on who you could have a dream race with, man.
You're not going to beat Cheryl. You will not beat Cheryl. I'm telling you. He will kill you.
I'm pretty sure we could have a whole entire family, our own class out there of our family. I mean, I would love to race any of them. I mean, between Cole, I would love to race against Case. I mean, we've raced on iRacing and stuff like that, but that's about it on that part. But it's just Cole and Junior would have been a good one. That would have been a fun one. I've heard a lot of stories. I mean, just pretty much everybody in my family would have been a bucket list of mine to race against. Yeah.
So
Junior could probably still get in a car and kick their ass today if Sean would let him in a car.
Yeah, all day. Just help them in there if you even got to do that one.
Yeah, that's right. So for you, Rowdy, rest of the year, I mean, obviously trying to finish out right there at CBS, right there in points and all that. I mean, are you going to try to solidify and win that championship like Bobby talked about with Corpus? I mean, I know there's factory stock races everywhere. What's the rest of the year for you guys?
I mean, I know we're going to try to run the rest of the Cotton Bowl races. I mean, just because, I mean, we got the car, and then we're not sure if we're going to wait, maybe try to dabble in a few more throughout November, October, later in October. I mean, but we're going to maybe try to just take a break, get it pulled apart early, and get it ready for next year and actually be ready at the beginning of the season. I mean, not be caught off guard by something like we were last time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, it's just really, we just got to wrap it up at Cotton Bowl, maybe.
Yep.
Hopefully not have to do any body work before next year either.
Oh, man, that's a whole part. That's always the worst part. People always say, well, it's only body work. I'm like, yeah, you go do that. That kind of sucks doing that stuff. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yep. Rowdy, way to go, my man. You were out there kicking some tail, dirt and asphalt, putting it in victory lane this past weekend at Cotton Bowl Speedway, my friend. Super proud of what you're doing. And I'm sure we'll do this again soon, my friend.
Thank y'all for having me.
Hey, Rowdy, you want to any folks you want to talk about? I mean, I know it takes an army to do this, buddy.
I mean, I would love to thank, of course, all my sponsors, Neil Kemp with Club 20 Suspension, Mike Blackwell with Blackwell Racing Engines. Of course, my dad. I mean, if he's not at work, he's at home in the shop, and me and him are out there just trying to get the car ready, trying to get mine or my mom's car ready for the next race to go out there and just hopefully get it up there in the top 3. I mean, and I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. All In Designs, of course, for the numbers, stuff like that, and Paul Davis Restorations.
Yeah.
I
Good
mean,
stuff. Yep. I got to ask you, how was your mom in the pits? I would see her in the stand, And how is your mom as a driver? She's kind of fiery.
I mean,
when I saw that she was gonna be racing, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Look out, look out.
yeah, I would say she's a lot more reserved whenever it comes to the driving side of things. I mean, she'll go swinging all out, all or nothing for me, but whenever it comes to herself, I mean, she is a little bit more reserved, but that's where me or my dad will probably take her spot in the things as usual. But I mean, yes, sir.
Yeah, I seem to recall that very thin, long-haired lady coming at me, pissed off that Sean and I may have had an incident on the track before. So, yeah, really.
Oh yeah. I mean,
all right.
Oh,
Way to go, dude. We'll do it again soon. Go win that championship and keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thank you. We'll try.
You got it. Take care.
Yes, sir.
You bet. There he goes, Rowdy Chouinard. Just another one, man. And Bobby, that is that whole thing about why we love this sport so much. It's like they just keep coming. They just keep coming. And the cool part now is now you've got, I mean, I know Rowdy's obviously a man, but now it's like the girls. I mean, it's like daughters of whoever that are now aggressive, really good racers. And those folks have been doing it a long time. And that kid right there, and let me tell you something about Rowdy. He that dude don't bullshit around. He is really, really good.
Well, I mean, it's in the tree, right? I mean, you know, it's almost in the blood. Like you said, that whole family tree, when you think about how wide it goes, it's not just one straight arrow down. I mean, that family tree branches out pretty good. And most everybody in there has at least one championship on some level of racing, whether it be local or national. So they, you know, that family knows how to get it done over there.
Yeah, they do. I like how you mentioned Cheryl. I mean, many times. I mean, Golden Girls or whatever they were called back in the day. She could have beat the dudes. And you remember Mary Ann was a Golden Girl. She came out, kicked our ass in the street stocks. I mean, I think Cheryl James would have done the same damn thing.
Yeah, I talked to one of my buddies. He sent me a message the other day out of the blue. He says, hey, he says, I got two guys that want me to tell you that I'm working with them today. They were working on some kind of movie set. I said, well, who the hell is it? He says, Ron Chambers and Danny Stewart. Wanted me to tell you hello.
Man. Danny Stewart.
I was like, the stories they could tell right there.
Oh my goodness, man, that is old school right there. We got to get Ronnie Chambers on here. I don't know about Danny. Danny may be kind of a little standoffish to kind of talk about the things that he's done, but yeah, Ronnie. I mean, get that dude on here and have some conversations with him. Friends, you see it right up at the corner of your little viewing box right there. I want to tell you about Team Texas. That's powered by Connectus, and that is David Starr's driving school over at Texas Motor Speedway. Lots of different packages that you can be a part of right there. If you want to go out there, you got a corporate event. If you have a team building, whatever it is that you want to do with something like that, that is the best place to do it. You go out to Texas Motor Speedway and you have full access to NASCAR style race cars. It is all race cars and they are situated with RCR engines in them. They haul ass. You can go 160 miles an hour. If you don't want to do that, you can ride with David or ride with one of the great instructors out there and just have a really good time. And if that's not enough, you can actually get in there. There's a limo. They have a limo where they took one of the race cars and they cut it in half and they put stadium seating in there. You know, stadium seating, I say, but it's racing seats. And you get to drive around Texas Motor Speedway, just kind of checking out the banking and everything right there. It is Team Texas, powered by Connectus, David Starr, continuing to give back to racing. If you happen to be interested in that, DM me or message me at some form or facet, and I will hook you up with the right folks that will get you on the racetrack. Not only that, there's more, and there's more, as they say on those commercials. If you have a bachelorette party, a wedding party, whatever it is you want to do, a weekend getaway, they can set you up in a condo looking over turn 2, and it is dressed up just like you would want it to be for racing. It is Team Texas Driving School. David Starr, all the great folks out there. Check it out, and you will be glad that you do that. Really, really cool stuff. I've done it. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I wanted to drive the car. I'm like, take the governor off. I want to go faster. They go 160. You can drive up to 160 miles an hour. I'm like, I want to go faster. David's like, don't do that. He's like, no, you can't do that. So Team Texas doing really, really cool stuff. Check them out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I got to get myself back there in one of those limo seats.
Man, they're fun. They take you up on the banking. And for all the folks that bitch about TMS, when you do that, you can actually see the differences in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. When they made the changes in there, I mean, it's like really weird getting up in the banking. So, yeah, really, really cool stuff. Also, got to tell you about, of course, there's that's South Texas Race Ranch that we talked about. We also have to tell you about this one, Bobby. This is what I'm looking forward to right here. Texana Raceway Park firing back off September 7th. A lot of money on the line for the hobby stocks, my man.
That's right. Texana Raceway Park roars back into action Saturday night, September 7th, as you see on the screen. Hobby stocks race for $750 to win. Also on the show card, go-karts, e-mods, racing for a good purse, limited mods, and factory stocks. They're also going to run the very special Dwarf Car Race Series of Texas Powder Puff Spectacular. You watch the ladies of racing race for glory in the DCRST cars. Fun for the whole family. Here you see $1 hot dogs, $1 soda, kids, car rides at intermission, adult general admission $20, senior military $15, children 5 to 12 $2, kids 5 and under are always free. Gates open at 5, racing starts at 7. For more information on payouts and rules, find Texana Raceway Park on Facebook. Drivers pay attention, no registration fees for the final 2 races, both September 7th and October 5th. Bring your car, bring your family, and have a good time there in Edna, Texas. Come on down Texana Raceway Park. There you see it September 7th, 2024. Be there.
Man, I'm so glad that they're getting back after it once again. And I think that they've done a really good job right there, that they are diving in with that division right there with the money to throw into that, because you can pull in some of the 105, you can pull in some of the Corpus stuff. And I think that the whole thing with this for me is that folks need to dive in with Texana. And we'll pull that up once again. I mean, it's really a big opportunity. DCRST is going to come in, and they always bring a lot of cars. And I think that for the folks that love TRP, you got 2 opportunities right here to really show them. And I'm not saying that TRP is going to not be around in 2025, because that's not the case. We had Cord Beard on here a couple of weeks ago. They're going to be around, but I think the thing is, with the 2 dates that are left, Bobby, you go out there, you show out, you have excitement. I mean, go out there and do what you're going to do. They're only going to want to give more dates if they can bring a big crowd.
That's right. I mean, they show up just like the deal with Rockingham announced today. When you have the Xfinity cars and the Truck Series running there on Easter weekend, you know, if the crowds show up and everything else, you got a chance to get a cup race back at Rockingham. Same thing with Texana Raceway Park. You come out and show out, have a good crowd, have a good car count there on September 7th and October the 5th. I mean, that's just boding well for good things to happen there in 2025.
Yep, that's right. And that really is the whole thing, because like with Rockingham, they have tried to open that place up before, you know, with the outcry of folks that wanted to go there, and they tried it and people didn't show up. So I think for Texana, here is your chance to show up and show out and prove to that staff that you want that place around. And that's really what needs to happen. All right, guys. Alan Dietz set to join us here in just a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about racing around the region. We'll talk the Oxford 250 that he was on the call for this past weekend. But before we do that, how about a word from our great sponsors?
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678 or online at avconsultations.com.
Labor Day weekend grassroots racing fix. It all begins Friday with the Maynard Tour Classic at Spencer. Saturday and Sunday, the World Stock Car Festival returns to Winchester. More on Saturday includes the Walls Platinum Series at White Mountain, the late models at Cordele, and must-see racing sprints in Owasso. And on Sunday afternoon, Pro Stocks go for $15,000 at Wiscasset. Catch it all and more this Labor Day weekend on Racing America.
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass, the ultimate racing resource.
There it is right there, My Race Pass. Be sure and download that when you head to the racetrack, or even if you're not going there, because you can keep up with stuff. I saw somebody post something there about the Brian Mize. We just ran that right there. That's going to be on Race On at Rocket Raceway Park. Plenty of good stuff right there. Plenty of good stuff on Racing America. If you happen to be joining us late, the Outlaw 34 this weekend at South Texas Race Ranch has been postponed, we'll call it. That whole night has been rescheduled. The makeup date is September 28th. But the big story that we broke with Carlucci right there is that the Outlaw 34 will now become the marquee event in December as the South Texas Shootout moves to November. And $3,400 to win right there for the factory stocks. Really big deal right there. Happy for Greg. Happy for all the folks in Corpus.
Yeah, lots of cool deals. That's going to be a great way to end the season down there at the race ranch.
Yep. Really, really big thing. Before Alan Dietz joins us, and thank you all for being a part of it, and you can chime in as we've got our live chat that is always up and going, and all the archives at revvedupsportshow.com. Bobby, let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about the new now. I did want to ask you something. So when we talk about factory stocks, I didn't want to ask Rowdy about this, but I saw that this past weekend at the $2 Pistol Speedway. I'm not sure where that is. I think it's Louisiana. I don't know where it is.
Hell of a name for a racetrack.
Yes. Very, very good name. When we talk about factory stocks and about what they are and how they've evolved, when you start running topless races for a factory stock, to me, that's you're kind of flirting with being a limited modified at that point. I think.
Well, the aesthetic just doesn't look good. I mean, you can't run a convertible factory stock and expect it to be safe. I've never understood some of these convertible races anyway. At least some of the guys with the limiteds and stuff that run topless there towards the end of the year, they have some kind of plates or something up there, some kind of plexiglass to keep from getting pounded by rocks and dirt and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm just not a fan of topless stuff. I mean, race car topless stuff anyway. But they definitely have a way to just look a little differently. But yeah, a topless factory stock just, I don't know, just doesn't seem to. I mean, I guess it would help you differentiate between all the other stock classes that are running that night that look like a metric Monte Carlo. But I don't know. For me, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen for me.
And that's the only point I guess that you can make for that is that you don't look like a stock car, street stock, whatever. But I mean, when we talk about factory stock, and that's been a conversation that we've had for so many different shows on here, is it's a stock car, whatever. You start taking the roof off. I never, ever, 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 all the years that I raced stock cars, I never freaking thought about taking the roof off. We may have chopped the top a little bit to make it, kind of cut the wind a little bit better, but I never, ever thought about taking the top off. It's one thing in the modifieds. I totally get that. I know that, but to me, that's on that boundary of, okay, what are we doing here? That's a little much for me.
Yeah, a topless factory stock. It's like taking those the CRA street stocks and taking the roof off of those. Just doesn't. At what point does it serve to take the roofs off?
For one point, a stock car, the roof should not come off unless you sawzall that sumbitch off, and you have to take it off. It's not one of those things to where you should be able to pull some pop rivets off or Zeus fasteners, whatever they're doing these days. It's not one thing that you should be able to take off. Again, I get it on the modifieds, but a stock car, the roof should not come off. It's a stock car. It has a roof.
It has a roof for a reason, to be more specific.
Because it's a fucking stock car. Anyway, I saw that and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're pushing the boundaries. All right, let's talk about the NASCAR schedule before Alan jumps on, if he jumps on. Your thoughts on that? I was getting all the great jokes this week about NASCAR's going to Mexico City and all these different things. It's like, we're going to your people. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Here is why NASCAR's going to Mexico City, because all of you people, I mean, NASCAR fans, I don't mean that, racial, whatever. This is going to be, I will tell you that when NASCAR goes to Mexico City, this is probably going to be the biggest attended event of the year, because
no doubt.
Yeah. And it's like, why are they doing that? Well, you know what? NASCAR fans have given up. They're done with it. They don't want to go to the race. They don't want to do any of that stuff. They're finding places to where customers want to come. If you have a convenience store, you want people to come to your business. That's what NASCAR's doing right here. They're going to bring people in. This is going to be huge at Autodromo Rodriguez.
Well, the biggest thing is that I never knew what the Xfinity races, Busch races down there were a complete commercial success. I think it was more of a safety issue coming back and forth to the States that kept that race from being run annually. But I also think that part of it is it just shows that's a demographic that's untapped, that has the untapped potential right there. Obviously, Daniel Suarez Amigos, they're a big force to be reckoned with there at the racetrack any weekend. But now you got the pressure. I mean, can you imagine the pressure that Daniel's going to be under racing in Mexico? If he wins that race, they're going to rip apart them grandstands. That'd be like winning the Daytona 500 for Daniel Suarez. But part of it that's cool to me is that it's another, okay, everybody's going to piss and moan because it's another road course on the schedule, but it's another chance for the Cup cars to race on a world-famous Formula One circuit. They do it in Austin, and now they're going to do it in Mexico City. That, to me, is big for the sport when you're running the same race courses, granted be 2 corners shorter there in Mexico City. But that's pretty big for the Cup Series to be racing the same racetracks as Formula One. So that I worry that the COTA market may be affected by the Mexico City race.
Yeah, I think where they did a good job with that is in the sense where they actually took the COTA date and kind of flipped it with TMS. So I think that's one thing to where there's going to be enough space in there, with COTA, because I think COTA is March 2nd.
Number 3, third race of the season.
Yeah, third race of the year, and Mexico City's a little bit deeper down in there. But obviously the first thoughts that I saw was, the crime. I mean, all the different things that are going to happen, and I'm like, if you've been to downtown Mexico City, it's nicer than most places in the States. And I mean, this is really something that I've had conversations with Max Calles about, to where it's like with Brazil, to where it's like, NASCAR drivers, race drivers in Brazil are like, Dak Prescott. I mean, you name LeBron James. I mean, these are the biggest stars that people have ever seen. And I think that Mexico market is the same thing. And in that spot in Mexico City, and this is where I invite people to kind of do your geography lesson. Take the Mexico part out of it. Look at Mexico City. This is in a really, really good part of Mexico City. And I think that there's a lot of influential people there that are going to want to be a part of this. And I think it's one of those things to where I do say, for the folks, why are they going to Mexico? Why do they want to go to Canada? Well, you don't want them here. You don't want them here. Folks are bitching about Richmond. Well, Richmond lost a race. Well, nobody went. I mean, nobody went. I mean, and that's the biggest thing to me, Bobby, where I think that the Rockingham thing is going to be, I'm looking forward to that for one thing, because they're going back there, but the outcry, I mean, they should come back to the Rock, all this, that, and the other. You better show up. You better show up. You get one chance. And you better get your ass there.
I mean, look at St. Louis now in the playoffs. It only holds 45, 50,000 people, but that race was sold out every year they had it the last 3 years. So now they get rewarded by getting a race inside the NASCAR playoffs. That's pretty cool. Iowa did the same thing, sold out. Now, granted, it's still probably on the schedule because they couldn't get Montreal up and running on the schedule. But look at Nashville. When they went back to Nashville, that was an Xfinity-only series that ran there, and then they sold out the Cup race within minutes of having that race up there. So it's all about going to the places where the people need to be. This street racing stuff, you're going to start seeing them run in Denver. You're going to see a street. I would say you see a street race in Seattle, but you got Portland up there, which I'm disappointed in the schedule. They took the Xfinity series out of Darlington for Labor Day weekend and moved that to the road course there in Portland. I don't like that idea. I don't think that's good for business, because that's I think they basically gave that courtesy date when they took that race away from Darlington. They gave it to Rockingham because they're virtually within the same damn market. They're probably not 75 miles apart.
Yeah. And, a lot of what goes into this is NASCAR is going to feed, the races that are, that are on the schedule, they're going to feed them to the markets that support them. And, I know it's a tough thing, TV and streaming and all that changes lots of things, but it really does come down to, what looks good on TV, full crowds. I mean, the market that wants to fill the stands, or at least as much as possible, that's where they're going to put these things. And I think it's a great thing, that you go back to with Daytona being the last race before the cutoff thing. I mean, I think that's great. And then you start at Darlington. I mean, that's kind of a double-edged thing right there. I think this year would have been amazing with Harrison Burton winning this past Sunday, Saturday, whenever it was. I think that would have been really cool this year, because now you go into the playoffs and that dude, and I want your thoughts, because I know that you and I were kind of going back and forth to where you get the dude with the point that the win and end thing is something that's caused a lot of conversation. I think if somebody else would have won, it'd be different, but the guy that kind of snuck his way in there, and he's going to be the first one out. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he played by the same rules that everybody else played with, though, right? They don't have the cap on it. You just have to be a full-time driver, attempt all the races without a waiver, and he just happened to win because they had 3 or 4 gigantic clusters there at Daytona that took out all the heavy hitters. We've seen it before. That's why Daytona and Talladega always produce a surprise winner, because you got to survive to the finish line at Daytona and Talladega, because there were 3, Kyle Larson stepped on it a couple of times and caused a couple of big wrecks. But in terms of, the way to survive that, I mean, they had 3 big ones at Daytona that took out 3/4 of the field. So I think it just became a way to survive. He played the same rules as everybody else, but he's probably going to be the first out, and that he's going to be that first 4 eliminated. But it's not impossible. I mean, look at Joey Logano last year. He was out in the first round, had issues 3 races in a row, didn't have the points cushion he needed, and he was bounced. So, I mean, I think that the NASCAR gets the drama they want with the playoffs without actually having to build drama into it. And I think that's the case. The crazy thing about this schedule coming up is that they get the Easter weekend break. They get one off weekend in 2025, and that's the Easter break for the Cup Series. Other than that, they run 38 out of 39 consecutive weeks. Longest season in professional sports.
Yeah. And I do like in the sense that they have kind of shaken some of that playoff stuff around, to where it's like, it's not the same, whatever. I mean, they've gone in. I mean, the fact that, you've got Darlington now starting that thing. And I like that. New Hampshire back into the playoffs. And again, that's your good customers. I mean, that's the people that want to be a part of what you're doing. And that's really what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
And it's not impossible to get a race back. Look at Darlington.
Exactly.
The people showed up at Darlington. Plus, it doesn't hurt that it's 45 minutes from Charlotte, maybe an hour.
That's it.
But the people showed up for the Southern 500. There was enough demand to bring back a second date. So that's why they run 2 dates again at Darlington, the Goodyear 400 and the Cookout Southern 500. There's certain tentpole events that don't need to change date-wise. You need to have Daytona number 1. You always should have the 600 on Memorial Day, and you should always have the Southern 500 on Labor Day. Those 3 races should never change.
Yep. That's right.
Other than that, pick and choose everywhere else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, wherever it falls in line. All right, let's dive in. Final guest of the evening, and this is going to be fun right here. This is going to be good old boy race talking right here as we welcome in, speaking of North Carolina, it is our man Alan Dietz checking in for the first time on Revved Up. He's been on Dirty Air with me, but tonight he's with Bobby and I. AD, how we doing, man?
Very good. I am in North Carolina, but I'll always be from South Carolina, and there's a big difference.
There it is right there, my man.
It's the moonshine, Rodney. The Sand Hills of South Carolina make better moonshine than they do in North Carolina. I've had them both. I prefer the South Carolina moonshine.
Alan
I tend to think everything's better in South Carolina, but that's just me.
Alan, you were on the call this past weekend for the Oxford 250 on Racing America, and that's one of those races to where the staple. I think a lot of folks down south don't realize how big that race is. And then I know there was some weather and everything that happened right there, but damn it, you get this thing done and you get a good dude that wins that race. Kind of walk us through that whole Sunday that you endured right there.
Well, I always felt like I appreciated the Oxford 250 because, when I was growing up, I knew it was a Busch Series race. Yeah. And a Busch North race and stuff. So I had some appreciation from it, from that end. But when I worked for Pass South, which started back in 2006, my appreciation for it really grew. And then I was able to go to it for the first time, I think, back in 2020. And it just, a lot of people compare it to the Snowball Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in prominence, I think that's fair. I think if you ran the Snowball Derby at the end of August, I don't know that you could get as many cars as the Oxford 250 does at the end of August. But the tracks are different. You don't qualify. The heat races are totally random to draw, and you have the intensity of Snowball Derby qualifying in those heat races. And then the race, like I said, the tracks are just so different. I mean, Oxford is the only 3rd-mile racetrack that I know of that you can comfortably race 3 wide around in a late model. And honestly, you can get away with 4 wide. It's tricky, but you can get away with it. And this is the best that Bubba Pollard has ran in that race since he won it back in 2018. I thought he had a pretty good car last year, but I don't think he ended up finishing. I think he got kind of collected up in something, which is easy at Oxford. But, for that race to come down to Tim Brackett, to come down to not Tim Brackett, Why can't I think of this right now? Who won it?
Jeff Taylor.
Yeah.
Come on, Alan. What the hell?
My brain, after coming off the weekend like the two and having to remember all that stuff and calling and stuff, my brain's kind of like scrambled for a few days. So it's kind of hard. But, you know, you got a guy like Jeff Taylor who, for comparison's sake, would be like David Rogers at New Smyrna. It would be like, you know, Mike Eddy was an ASA, Jody Ridley was an All-Pro. That's what Jeff Taylor is at Oxford, a 9-time champion who I think had finished second 3 times. He's a great car builder and only races once a year, only races in Oxford 250. Then you got Bubba Pollard coming up from the south, and then you got DJ Shaw, again, who, you know, his dad ran it and never won it. DJ's finished second in it 3 times. And I think DJ was the youngest one out of the bunch, and he and Bubba are both, you know, around 35. And I just thought it was nice to see men out there racing for it. And there are kids out there, but go out there beating and banging and running into each other. That was a hard fought race, last 50 or 75 laps, and they raced it like men. And you know, at the end of the day, Jeff Taylor was able to come home with the win, which is a great story and caps off a great career for him. So if he never does it, he, you know, maybe he doesn't ever do it again. But the other thing I appreciated, and we posted it on our comments, is there's always excuses for these guys from the South and the Midwest as to why they don't go to Oxford. Well, it was the ride height rule. Well, that rule's gone away. Well, we don't like running heat races. Well, there's a word for that, but I can't use it on air. And I'm a little bit freer about how I can talk right now because I don't have.
Bring it on, buddy.
Yeah, I don't. So, you know, all of these guys that you know, mind the 250 and always want to talk about how great Snowball Derby is, which the Snowball Derby is great, until they get up there and man up and race at the Oxford 250. In my opinion, they could win 10 Snowball Derbies, and it don't matter. Rich Bickle won 5 Snowball Derbies. I think he only raced at the 250 one time, but he made it, and he tried to go up there. Bubba's raced in it. Preston Peltier's raced in it. Jay Fogelman raced in it. Stephen Nassie went up there a couple of years ago and didn't qualify, but at least he went up there. So, you know, these other guys, they can make all the excuses they want to, but for me, the Oxford 250 is the biggest race.
Sorry, I had myself muted. So, Alan, you mentioned Bubba Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm wrong, but in your mind, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you can handle it. Name me the best super late model racer out there not named Bubba Pollard. Who in your mind is, or is there somebody that's better than Bubba right now? Because when it comes to the big races, Bubba's usually there, top 3, top 2, sometimes winning them. Who's the best super late model racer out there not named Bubba Pollard?
I mean, this is kind of a cop out, but I don't see how you can't say Ty Majeski.
Yep.
And honestly, if he was racing more, you know, up to when Derek Thorne won the Snowball Derby, so he was racing regularly then, and now he's, you know, more into the car building and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to say that anybody was better than Derek Thorne. But again, the thing about Bubba Pollard is Bubba has raced in Washington and was competitive. He raced in Idaho and was competitive. He raced in Maine. He races in Florida. He raced all over. He raced in Berlin and won. You know, I mean, it's not even close because nobody else is doing what he's doing. You know, and in dirt late model racing, you've got 15 Bubba Pollard. And right now in super late model racing, there's one Bubba Pollard, and it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. Alan, I've asked drivers this all the time, on Dirty Air, on this show. When it comes to kind of what you're talking about right there with the Oxford 250 and up north and south, it
Mhm.
really seems like to me that there's a different mindset with those drivers. I mean, down south, we seem to be a little more aggressive. We kind of seem to, doing whatever. I sit
Be a
there and I
lot younger.
yeah, a lot younger. I watch those guys up north, and those guys have all sorts of respect for each other, and they are not going to freaking rub each other. I mean, shit's going to happen on the track.
Yeah.
Shit's going to happen on the track. But that really is a different mindset up there.
Well, you look at Max Cookson and Gabe Brown and Jimmy Renfro, and you can go through the list of really talented guys in their late teens and early 20s. And they don't go out there and wreck a bunch of stuff like a bunch of these guys did when they were driving Legends cars. These guys are young, but they're not coming with their dad's money, quite frankly. The best example that I can give you is when they ran the first Easter Bunny at Hickory in 2006. That was you had a pretty good contingent of guys that had ran the Big Ten in the South. You had about 10 or 12 guys that had come from Maine. Chuck Barnes came from Kentucky. You had a couple of guys in the Midwest now. And I remember telling people, I said, these Southern guys are going to wipe the floor with these Yankees. They're going to kill. Well, Mike Rowe won that race. And every time the North guys come down after that, they dominated. And the simplest answer that I can give you is that all they've done up there for the last, ever since they started racing stock cars in New England, is they don't time trial. They run heat races. They don't whine like a bunch of babies. And which these guys, they go to Pensacola and do it once a year and cry about it, the whole time. And Ben Rowe has had terrible draws at Hickory in heat races, or even qualifying, because we were qualifying back then because all of the guys from South were crying whenever it was a regular deal. But Ben Rowe would qualify out of the top 20 and end up winning. He's won 2 Easter Bunnies and wouldn't have a scratch on the car. The last 250 that Mike Rowe won, he started 37th. If you did that now with the Snowball Derby or with the All-American 400 or with Winchester 400 or any of these races, I think they could probably do it at Slinger. They don't, but I think they could probably do it at Slinger. But these guys would either not show up. If they did show up, they'd whine and bitch and cry about it the whole time. And they would go into it with bad attitudes, and half of them would be torn up before the race ever started from stupid.
Yep.
Can you tell me I don't really care now?
Hey, I'm with you.
Real race talk on this show. That's not a hashtag. That's the way of life down here.
But I mean, it's you look at the Cars Tour right now, particularly their late model stock deal, and it's ridiculous. The way they're tearing cars up is absolutely ridiculous. But when your dad has got a bunch of money and can buy you a brand new car, there's a brand new car sitting on the trailer after you tore it up trying to set the fast lap in practice. The mentality of it's totally screwed up. And the thing about it is, it's not going to change.
Nope.
I mean, it's part of what the deal is right now with pavement racing, and it costs so much that it's not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Alan, I think one of the other things, with tires, I know because Cars Tour doing the thing going back to the F45 and all this other stuff. I mean, I think that's one of the other things to where I've always said for the Derby, it's like, man, that is a tire selling week and a half. Yeah. So thoughts on that? I mean, you get all this tire shit going on, and it's like, come on.
Well, past when Tom Mayberry first started, it was American Racer.
Yep.
And they they did some tire tests and were looking to maybe go to Goodyear, and some things happened with that so that it couldn't happen. So Hoosier came and said, "Listen, you got one of the best things going. Let's try to make this work."
Mm-hmm.
And Tom said, "The only way I want it, there is a specific tire that is a Hoosier P48 now that can only run in pass or at pass sanctioned events, and we're not going to run a 45. We're not going to run a ST3 or 2 or 1 or whatever it is." And that 48, Tom never ran into a shortage with it during COVID because it was only legal in pass.
Yep.
And that's why it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but he's had fewer problems because he made that deal with Hoosier. And I think it says a lot about him, and I think it says a lot about what Hoosier thinks about what they've got going on up there. Pass and the American Canadian Tour were bitter enemies. And right before Tom Curley died, he and Tom Mayberry made peace. And Chris Michaud bought Thunder Road. And they absolutely have got the best thing going on in the country. And I've told both of them, I'm like, if you ever want to get back involved in the South or nationally, that's fine and good. But if you don't, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Because you got the best thing going.
Yep.
And you look at all this other stuff where there's all this people not working together, and they're fighting over 30 cars. So what are you going to have 15 and 15? It's ridiculous what people and it's not hard. Honestly, I'm not going to get into it, but it's just like politics. It's common sense. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that just are don't have a lot of common sense.
Yep.
It's just like, I want to go back to what you guys were talking about right before I came on there. It's just like NASCAR. The thing that you've got to give Ben Kennedy is that they absolutely should have never moved the Southern 500 off Labor Day. If they never ran another race at Darlington, it should be on Labor Day weekend every year, just like you. And if you're going to add Mexico City, well, you added North Wilkesboro. If you're going to add Brazil or Montreal or something like that next year, well, you added Rockingham. If you're going to do some gimmicky stadium race, why not do it at Bowman Gray? Mm-hmm. So I'll give it to them that for old fans, they're at least trying to sit there and be like, listen, we're going to do some different stuff with these street races and with, going international and things like that. But you come out and support us at Darlington and Rockingham and Bowman Gray and North Wilkesboro, which even the fact that sentence is coming out of my mouth is believable. Yeah. But if you work with us and you go out and support these events, then we'll keep doing them.
Mm-hmm. Alan, I've always wanted to ask you. So, and we've been a part of this, with all this mix and everything with, Southern Super Series, ASA, USR, with Ricky's bunch and all that, with super late models. I mean, that's one of those things to where, I joke around. I'm like, okay, I think they're trying to get along, whatever. But I mean, to me, it's a wedge that's been driven in. And it's kind of killed that thing. And I think that's why the Cars Tour has been so successful, is that it's an alternative. And it's like, man, it's just too much right now.
Yeah. So you broke up a little bit. What was the question?
I was talking about kind of with all the different super late model things, with Southern Super Series and Ricky's bunch and everything. It's like, man, there's a lot of divide. Everybody wants to get along, I think, but it's just they're batting heads all the time, it seems like.
In order to make this super late model stuff work, and UARA and ASA don't necessarily have to do it together. But in order for this thing to work, you got to go away from all of this exclusive built motor stuff with the high horsepower. And if you can, there's pro late models everywhere. And if you can make it legal to where you give those crate cars, you give those pro late models a weight break, there's going to be some racetracks when they go to Hickory, they're going to have an advantage. Not qualifying, they're going to have an advantage in the race. When they go to Nashville, they're not going to have that advantage, but at least they can be competitive with those crate motors. And until you, and listen, they don't want to do that because they want to try and have the best of both worlds and run a super race and pro late model race. But I think the thing that Ricky's got going for him in that deal with UARA is he does not have a pro late model component to it. So, and I have talked to him some, and I've told him, I'm like, when you go to a Wasso, when you go to some of these racetracks, you need to make it where the pro late models can be competitive. And if you can do that, then I think you're going to have a better shot at surviving. And the other thing, and I think this mistake that ASA is making, and I think it's a mistake that a lot of people make, is get rid of these points funds. It's a waste. I think there's one guy that's ran all the ASA races. And listen, I can go right down the same line with UARA. There's probably only 2 or 3 guys that's ran all of them. But at least the way that UARA's got it broke down, they can crown a champion based on money won.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And these guys want the money in the purse. They want the money in the race, and they want to be able to at least come out after the race is over with, if they finish last, and at least be even. When you're going into races and you're winning races and losing money every week, which is what's going on at a lot of local races, I don't know how anybody races, to tell you the truth. I really don't.
I know. Yep.
You think I pick anybody off tonight?
Oh, we do that weekly, Alan. Don't worry about it. You stay on long enough. You stay on with us long enough, you'll learn that just let it roll off.
I'm letting it go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bobby. I'm sorry.
No. So go back. Let's go back to the Cars Tour. I am on the fence. I love watching the racing, but in my mind, I've said the Cars Tour is too big. It's gotten too big for the level of drivers that are in it, in my opinion, for what that sounds kind of weird. Because now you've got 10 guys that can win the race, but they have that same Southern mentality that some of the super late models do about beating and knocking somebody out of the way. Am I totally off base thinking that the Cars Tour is just too big and they've got too much going on right now?
No, you're not. And I think their pro late model division's okay, because I don't think it's gotten too out of hand, at least comparatively speaking. But Cars Tour pays good. I think they pay like $7,000 to win the late model stock races or something like that. But again, in the grand scheme of things, you're losing money. And the problem that they've got, that if they're not careful, is the Bobby McCartys, the Butterbean Queens, the guys like that are not tied in with one of the owners, that are not tied in with a manufacturer like GM or Toyota as a development driver. It's going to get to the place where you can't be a blue collar guy that works every day of the week and end up running in the thing. And I think that they know that. Now, whether or not they know how to fix it, I don't know about that. And right now, they're still on the sugar high of the new ownership group and things like that. But I think it's starting to wear thin. There's a joke. It's called the NASCAR's Tour for a reason.
Yeah, it fits. Alan, I want to ask you about, because you see it. You see it all the time. We talk about pro late models, but you got the modifieds, you got the trucks, you've got all the different pure stocks, all these different feeder classes, support classes, whatever you want to call it. It really sucks. I mean, I know here in Texas, we're trying to get our feet underneath us, but man, it really seems like all those classes are really sucking across the country when it comes to pavement. And it's like those are the ones that I'd like to see. Trucks. I mean, to me, trucks, being in Texas, we used to kick ass in those, and now there are none. I mean, it makes it really hard when you look at the future of, if you want to call it local, bi-weekly, once a month, or whatever, asphalt short track racing.
Well, where I have been critical of everybody, I have put a positive nugget in it. And I've not done that for ASA yet, and I want to do that. The Jet All-Stars is doing the best it's done in a long time. It's a pro lake model. If on a lower level, not about the same level, if you look at the smart modifieds, that's where I think that's where cars needs to get to that mentality with maybe not 4 new tires every week and doing some things to keep the cost down, because Smart's done that in a place in the South where it was a really hard pull to try to get that going. But in UARA with their sportsman division, they're doing great. But below that, on a weekly level, I think it's 2 things. I was at Oxford last week, and if you go back and you look at the races on Friday and Saturday, they have their limiteds, and if you watch their weekly shows that have their their Ford Outlaws, which Ford Outlaws are doing great all over the country on dirt, pavement, whatever. You got to have a decent purse, but you have got to keep the costs down, and you got to keep the safety up, but don't get ridiculous with it. I mean, don't get super silly about a front wheel drive and things like that. I'm not talking about compromising roll cages and fire suits and helmets and harness devices and gloves. I think you got to have that for everything. But a lot of the lower divisions are kind of looking outside the box with some different tire manufacturers like American Racer, Cobra, some smaller tire manufacturers, and I think that's a good thing. But the main thing is just to keep the cost down. And the other thing is you the dirt track, and they've got a super late model and a limited late model and a 604 late model, and 603 and 602, all on the same night.
Yep.
And even dirt tracks can't get away with that. So, when you're looking at depending on where you're at around the country, a car that's Charger or a limited, where they're basically the same thing. You look at 4 cylinders and things like that. I mean, you kind of got to split up a rear wheel drive 4 cylinder and a front wheel drive 4 cylinder. But why not just have one? The front wheel drives are the cheapest, so just get rid of the rear wheel drives and I think it's just stuff like that. And it's about being smart, working with the competitors to find what they're looking for, and you're not going to please them all, but if you could just get them together to start with, and get 20 of them out there and say, all right, this isn't in Congress, there's 20 of us here, we can probably get this figured out where all 20 of us agree on it. It just takes a little bit of work, Yeah.
Fallon, I got to ask your opinion on Bowman Gray. We were talking about it earlier in the show. I don't know if you caught it. And Rodney and I are not the biggest fans of Bowman Gray, not because the racing's not great, because the other antics that go on at that racetrack. What's your opinion on Bowman Gray? I mean, is it just a circus? Like when we go to the racetrack, we don't want to watch a circus. We want to watch racing. From an announcer perspective, sometimes the fights make our job easier, but for some reason, I just can't get into Bowman Gray. Am I wrong? I mean, am I not a true race fan by that?
No, you are actually a true race fan, and it's great to experience to be in a place that size and see cars racing and to see that many people. But if you're every now and again, you can go to Bowman Gray and you might see a good race.
Yep.
But it's pretty rare. And it's a lot of the redneck shenanigans that make it go viral. And, obviously working, getting 15, 18,000 people out there. But, this race coming up with the Clash out there, Winston-Salem's going to be a nightmare that weekend, just traffic-wise, because it's bad with a regular race. But the other thing is I think a lot of the local fans are going to get pissed off because they're going to get priced out.
Yep.
NASCAR is going to charge, $75, $100 a ticket. So that's going to price the locals out and piss them off. And then, some of these folks that don't know a lot about boat, if people go there thinking that they're going to be seeing guys jumping through the windows of other race cars and stuff like that with the Cup guys, it's not happening.
Nope.
And NASCAR has kind of put themselves in a bad box with what they did on this Austin Dillon deal, because I think they could have fined Austin Dillon if they wanted to, but there was nothing in the rule book that said what he did was illegal. Now, after the fact, you could say that moving forward, this is what we're going to do. But he didn't break any rules, and he did what he needed to do to get in based on, what they said. And, it may not be that blatant, but I'd be willing to bet my last paycheck that the winner's probably going to be the guy not leading on the last lap.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get knocked out of the way.
Yeah.
And they're probably cautious with 5 or 10 laps to go to make that happen.
Yeah. And I think the other part of that is going to be where NASCAR's in a no-win on this deal, because it's not going to be, what you see with the Madhouse. I mean, it's not going to be that. I mean, people may get pissed off and you may have that end of the race wreck, but it's not going to be that shit show that we see, that happens there all the time. I mean, that's not the way it works. So, Alan, for you, my man, what's next? I mean, it's one of those things. I'd reached out to you, and I'm sorry about the timing when I reached out to Alan. Do you have any work for me? And then I saw your post, and I'm like, well, shit. So, what's next, dude?
I don't know. Somebody would tell me, because I'd like to know myself. But the one thing that I want people to know is, if I wanted to come on here and badmouth Race American RTA, I would have every right to, in theory, but I'm not going to do that. There's just been some restructuring, and with all the racetracks and series that I've dealt with, I'm still going to be dealing with them. I made another streaming deal yesterday with a place that's never been on Racing America, and it'll be on Racing America later this year. And I'll be a consultant with Racing America, still working on that stuff. So, I've told the track partners that I've talked to and the series partners that I've talked to, one in particular told me, he said, well, how do I cancel my contract? And I said, no.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Let's not do that yet, because I said, if you want to do something to support me, that's the last thing you need to do, because that's what's keeping me having some income from Racing America. So there's that, and on the occasion that they need me to edit something or host something or things like that, I'm still going to be working with them, as long as I don't find anything that conflicts. And as long as I can find something that pays my bills, I don't care if it's in motorsports. I don't care if it's in television or media. Those are things I know and I love and I enjoy. But I don't have to do that as long as I can find. All I want to do is take care of my family. That's all I care about.
That's what it's all about, my man. That is what it's all about. This has been a joy. The show, this is usually a Monday show. So anytime you want to sit here and just kind of let it fly, let me know. That's what we do.
I don't know. I do that again after tonight. We'll see how many phone calls or texts I get. But
well, and that's the thing. We've got a lot of folks checking in. So sorry.
These are things I tell these tracks and promoters and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, and again, when I worked with Tom Mayberry, it was never my primary job. And Tom and I would talk about things, and he'd say, "What do you think?" And hundreds of times, probably over the last 18 years, even now, I tell him, I don't have any money wrapped up in this.
Yep.
It's not money. I ain't losing a dime, whether or not we do this, or whether or not we do it or not. But this is what I think, and that's just the thing. Is it's what it may be economically, feasibly, it doesn't work out. But and the other thing I want to say too, quick before we go, is Rod, hundreds literally of commercials for us on Racing America just this year, not counting what he started doing last year, and he's not made a red cent off of it. And I appreciate it because it's allowed me to get commercials turned around really quickly. These track partners appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody this past weekend bought the Oxford 250. I know they don't like paying outside of the subscriptions. And what I'm telling people now is you watch a regular UFC fight on ESPN, but the championship fights, you have to pay an additional fee on top of what your subscription is. And a large bulk of what we make off of these races goes back to the racetrack. Tom Mayberry is going to be very happy with what he gets out of this Oxford 250 for you fans. So I appreciate you guys supporting it. It was an all-time event for us. It was one of the most successful we've ever had. And I know it is aggravating for you folks, but I do appreciate y'all buying it. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't get a commission off of it either. So I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, because it ain't got anything to, obviously it has nothing to do with me and my job.
Yeah. And Alan, I'll tell you, I mean, always a pleasure doing that for you. I mean, you've opened up. I mean, you put me on a national, front with Dirty Air and all the different things. So a lot of gratitude right there for you. And moving forward, I mean, let's keep doing this. That's what we do, my man. That's what we do.
And my bosses at Race Great, I love them. They're doing everything they can do in this situation right now to look out for me. And maybe we come back around next year and I am back full time. And if that happens, I would be very happy. But I'm still going to be very involved. And I want people to continue to support Racing America.
Absolutely. All right, my friend. Thank you for taking the time. Let's stay in touch. I'm sure we will. And thanks for shooting it from the hip, my man.
All right. See y'all later.
Take care.
See you, Alan.
Bye-bye.
You bet. There he goes. Alan Dietz. # real race talk. That's what we do in this place.
That's right. It's not just a slogan. It's a way of life on this show.
That is what we do around here. And as you see, Bobby and I dressed up in our very nice apparel that we always wear.
You never see my logo because of the way my camera is, but I have my shirt on.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. Those are all provided by our friends at On Demand Shirts. Of course, they are over in San Antonio, Texas. Quick word from our friends at On Demand Shirts. Shirts and OnDemandShirts.com. Custom apparel and promo products for every occasion. Birthday parties, reunions, company apparel, school events, fundraisers, and more. Much more than T-shirts. It is On Demand Shirts. Check them out for your hoodies, shirts, koozies, and so many different products. On Demand Shirts and OnDemandShirts.com, a leading innovator in apparel throughout the racing industry and in the state of Texas. On Demand Shirts, more than shirts. On Demand Shirts. Make you look as good as Bobby and I do each and every time. And of course, we've got to tell you about our friends at Cotton Bowl Speedway. A little bit of time off. I saw that H.E. and Marianne were off having a little bit of an excursion. Very much deserved after lots of weeks doing their thing right there, Bobby. September 14th, Texas Dirt Truck Series making their way back in. And never a dull moment at the old Cotton Bowl.
No, never a dull moment. As fast as that place is, as big as that place is, there's always action somewhere, somehow, some way. You just got to be there in person to catch it all. There's only so much. There's only so much a camera can capture. That's what we tell people. You know, if you can't get to a racetrack, find yourself a streamer. But I'm telling you, there's nothing beats being at a racetrack live, whichever racetrack it is.
That's right. RaceCBS.com for additional information on that event coming up. And if you are tuning in late, the Outlaw 34 has been postponed. Lots of rain down there. I mean, we saw some pictures of what's going on at the ranch. So a little bit of a shuffle in what's going on for the rest of the year at the South Texas Race Ranch. The South Texas Shootout has moved up to November 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 5K on the line right there for the limited modified. So that'll be a great event right there. And where the shootout usually has been, that second weekend in December. So if you're fresh off of the Snowball, you can make your way into the Outlaw 34 and check that out. $3,400 on the line to win. That's not including lap money that's going to be happening right there at the South Texas Race Ranch with all of that. And some of the changes right there that Alan's talking about. I think I may be watching the Derby from home this year. So anyway, great conversation right there with Alan, and the whole thing is, I mean, he's it's one of those things. He's one of those guys, very influential. What he's done. I mean, with that transition, you know, you get a lot of folks that want to go back to the Speed 51 time, and that I mean, that was the heyday. I mean, that really was the heyday, and I think, Bobby, why that was the heyday is because nobody else was doing it. I mean, there wasn't anybody else.
Wasn't anybody else doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Speed 51 kind of set the mark for all of them. I mean,
hell, we used to get excited when we had live updates, you know, on like a little message board thing.
Oh,
from the Snowball Derby. I mean, I remember sitting I remember iced out up in Bedford, Texas, in the middle of DFW, and sitting there listening to the radio broadcast on Speed 51 of the Snowball Derby, the year that Chase Elliott won and got DQ'd.
Yeah, and I mean that really was the thing right there to when all of that started happening, and this is where, I mean, it really does suck. I mean, you and I kind of go back and forth a lot to where when it comes to this show, everybody has a show. I mean, you look now, everybody has a podcast. I mean, there are shows on every damn night. I mean, whether live or, well, there's not many live, but there's a lot of different podcasts and so forth. And I think that's why we try to stay as genuine as possible doing this live all the time. I mean, even if shit gets fucked up, I mean, it's like, okay, that's the way we've always done it. And it's kind of the same thing with that, to where Speed 51, when they were doing what they were doing, it was like a high quality TV broadcast of the Snowball Derby or the Rattler or whatever it was. And now you can turn on Flow I mean, I could hit Flow right now and there's events going on everywhere. And that's, you know, where this whole thing is revolutionized. And Alan is one of those guys that, I mean, is an integral part of that. I mean, behind the scenes guy. And then, you know, kind of he was kind of the one that was thrown in there as the programming guy with Racing America to where it's like, okay, you're the one. And kind of nice to let his hair down. He doesn't have hair, but great conversation right there. We'll podcast that some bitch for sure.
Well, you know, as we said, there's no filters here. And we are indeed, especially around here, we are the show that started it all. If you don't believe it, go back and check 8 years of archives on RevvedUpSportsShow.com.
Yeah, there's lots of it. Before we get out of here, we do want to pass on great thoughts. Our man Ricky Brooks talking there about UARA. Man, some really fucked up stuff right there. Ricky having a heart attack at one of the events, and luckily they were able to get him, in a good spot, and he's recuperating. He's got the best nurse of them all there with his wife. So hopefully everything's going to be good for Ricky. And I find it really hard to believe that you're going to be able to keep Ricky Brooks away from some of these UARA events. His ass going to be there. I mean, he may not be down there. He's going to be in that booth. He's going to be over there doing what Ricky does.
That's right. You're not going to stop him. It might slow him down a little bit, but it definitely ain't going to stop him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, man. The weekend's coming up. Things are cooling off a little bit. We've got college football going on right now. Colorado down by 3 right now to North Dakota State. That's a -9 for Colorado in that thing right there. I wanted to throw some money down on that at Circa, but they didn't have it up on the board. But anyway, football's the rule and the roost of the week. You got racing events happening everywhere. Like we said, nothing in Corpus. But Robert, your plans, my friend.
You got my text about the upset in Stillwater, right?
I saw that. It's one of those things to where with Oklahoma State, and we were talking to some folks on one of the shows that we were doing, and it's like, they're like, why are you so invested still in the Big 12? And it's like, well, for one thing, the team that I cover has been a part of the Big 12 forever. But Utah plays tonight, and they're supposed to be the perennial favorite. I think Oklahoma State could be the team to kind of spoil everything. I'm surprised that line is where it's at. I hadn't looked at that line right there. I don't know. I don't know, man. It
was 13.5 for Oklahoma State, and you can't do that against the defending FCS champions.
-9. It was -9 when I looked at it on Sportsline a while ago. Checked in.
It's gone down.
Yeah, it's gone down. So it's going to be fun stuff. I mean, it's a good weekend for all of that. Taking a look at the calendar in this area is what we have going on. I think we ran a spot earlier, the 10th annual Brian Mize Memorial going on at Rocket. Does Rocket ever not have a big event? Man, that is the place. It is the place.
A little far from us, but that's a show palace and one of the places to be. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, little too far out. Sabine racing on Friday night. Also on Saturday, well, the race ranch is not happening. Night number 2 there, the Brian Mize. Kennedale, I think Kennedale should be fine because it seems like all the weather for once is down here. So again, Bobby, I think one other thing that you ought to talk about, and we'll try to figure out what we're going to do with the holiday coming up, especially doing a later show on Thursday this week. Talk about Texana again. Because that big event coming up, kind of the re-grand opening and all that, I think that's really a big thing.
Yeah, I don't get to be there for this one, unfortunately, but I get a chance to try to help out as much as I can. I think that it's crucial that they've got the hobby stock as one of the core groups of classes there because they could pull from 105. You can still run a pure stock from Corpus up there with minimal changes. Yep. And I just think that I think what they did with the limited mods by making it basically a challenge race, you can run, you can't run a B mod, but you can run USRA limited mods or IMCA Southern Sport mod. You just have to pick your rules and stay with it. I think that's going to help out a lot. Obviously, factory stocks are factory stocks. Their E-mod class is building. I think you're going to see a lot of the I-37 E-mods come down for that one. Some of the Corpus E-mods will come over. And then also race with some of the regulars there at Texana. So I think that, and then you got that Powder Puff Spectacular. Rachel will be in it. Rachel's done a good job promoting. Shouts of goodwill goes to our buddy Sean Folsom having that foot problem. Can't make it down there. Text him today. He's been out of pocket since the middle of July with his foot condition. So not a good deal. But $1 hot dogs, $1 sodas. I mean, it'll be the place to be in Flag City, USA, coming up here on not this weekend but next weekend.
Yep. And I think the big thing with that is that if you want Texana to be able to, and, when we talked to Cord, he talked about, he had some promotional guys that were looking to be a part of that and looking to take that over. I think the whole thing is, if you want this thing to grow, it's like we were talking about with Rockingham. It's like, show up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to be there. You got 2 chances. Don't fill the place on September 7th and not show up for the next one. I mean, it's one thing to get online and talk about, I missed the place and I wish it was open and all this, that, and the other, all this bullshit. You got to support. You got to support. You got to go there. You got to go there and buy that stuff. I mean, buy the dollar hot dogs and buy the dollar sodas and just sit in the stands and watch the races. It's going to be cooler. And I think that hopefully that is going to be a great weekend. Huge thanks to our man, Greg Carlucci Jr., as he checks in. Didn't know about the 3,400 to win, as that's now the December showcase event at the race ranch. Rowdy Chouinard, well, that guy right there. He's in a good line of race winners right there.
Big time family there.
Yep. And our man, Alan Dietz, checking in with hashtag Real Race Talk. Good dude right there. All right, Bobby, enjoy your week, man. It's going to rain. It's going to rain.
It's going to rain a lot.
Yep.
And then I guess no Monday show this week because we've got our fantasy football draft. So,
oh, that's right.
No Monday show this week. I don't know when we'll go on again, but just stay tuned to the social airwaves and we'll let you know when we know.
That's right.
If not, then everybody enjoy the happy Labor Day weekend and we'll catch you the week after.
That's right. We'll do it again. It is hashtag Real Race Talk. We are in Texas. Bobby's down south. I am up north. Be sure and check the socials and all that good stuff happening right there. You guys have a great week. Be safe. Enjoy your long weekend. Revved Up Sports Show from right here in Texas.